Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Breaking Through the Wall, a podcast presented by SERVPRO Team Wall. This is our 9th episode of the podcast, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by one of my all-time favorite sports broadcasters. Our guest today has spent time gracing TV screens with his sports knowledge and his good looks in places such as Baltimore, Maryland, Maryland's Eastern Shore, Birmingham, Alabama, New York, and of course, Washington, D.C. Our guest has hosted shows for the New York Islanders, the Washington Redskins, now the Commanders, Washington Nationals, and of course was with the Washington Capitals when they hosted the Stanley Cup in 2018. After spending 25 years in the TV world, he now is back at his alma mater, the University of Maryland, which he is sporting there on his left chest, as you can see today. Please, everyone, welcome my friend and our guest today, Rob Carlin.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that you got my email with all of those words. And you just you read the script exactly the way I wanted. You sold it.
Yes.
The good looks part. I felt weird putting that in there, but I knew you'd punch it.
Yeah, as a guy comfortable on camera, I'm fine saying whatever you guys, I just read what's on the screen.
Just read the words.
I just read the words.
Yeah, for 25 years.
Non-Burgundy style. I'm just reading away. Whatever they tell me to say. Well, how you doing, sir? How are you?
Good. I mean, you said I'm back at my alma mater. Since I transferred in here in 1993, I've been completely Terps crazy. Like, my wife would be the first to tell you, like, move on a little bit. But, this is like my office. Like, that's Xfinity Center basketball court right there. This is where I take my calls. So it's pretty cool.
I love that, of course, basketball season just starting up. Terps, while we're recording this or want to know, they play this Friday against Georgetown. So hopefully by the time this comes out, they're still undefeated. Buzz has got them going. So I like that. Of course, though, on this podcast, we're going to get to some Maryland stuff. But the theme here is breaking through the wall. We're talking about kind of breaking into the industry. Of course, you've been in the sports industry for a really long time, and that's been your career path. I know you grew up in New York, so you obviously made your way down to here, in the DMV area. But let's kind of start back when you're a young guy. I assume you grew up a huge sports fan. So let's get to this. What sports teams were you rooting for as a kid?
Did I root for or did I play?
Like, which sports teams did you root for?
Oh, I was Islanders. They won their first of 4 straight Stanley Cups when I was 8. So and it was 8, 9, 10, 11. So I was like, this is the greatest sport in the history of sports. Yeah, my teams just win championships every year. And I'm Jewish. My bar mitzvah was Islanders themed. I used to go. I'm 15 minutes away from the Coliseum. My uncle, who I believe was the married guy that my aunt was dating, used to take me to games all the time. He was a season ticket holder. Yeah. So, I was totally Islanders crazy. The Knicks, Patrick Ewing days. Although I was a Lakers fan because I was a Magic Johnson guy. 80s was either Magic or Bird. So I was a Magic guy. So I was a huge Lakers fan growing up. But the Knicks and then the Mets. That's it. So the football team was the Steelers. The Steelers is a weird one. So again, I was 8 and they won the Super Bowl against Dallas. 13. That was my first memory of football. And I loved the black and gold and I loved the logo on one side of the helmet. So I wrote a letter to the Steelers and just sent it away. I'm a huge fan, but I live in New York, blah, blah, blah. And they sent me a whole box of merch and books about the history of the Steelers. And I was like, oh, I'm in. This is my
That's
sport
awesome.
now. Yeah.
Super cool.
It was very cool. So, back then I grew up only watching the Jets and Giants because that's all you had back then.
Sure.
So Freeman McNeil and Richard Todd and Wesley Walker, those old Jets, and obviously the LT, Harry Carson, Phil Simms, Mark Bavaro, Giants, play amazing games against the Redskins back in the day. So those were my teams. But, it's funny because my best friend who I grew up with calls me a front runner because of the Steelers. I'm an Islanders fan. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Maryland fan. I get kicked in the crotch over and over and over again. I had one team that won some titles. So
right, exactly. I mean, for the people that don't know me, my sports teams my entire life have been just not good. So, right. Huge Wizards fan, huge Commanders fan, huge Orioles fan. all three have not won. Well, so I was 2.5 the last time when the Redskins won in '91, and so I wasn't alert or aware of that. And then none of them have won since I've been cognizant and aware. So one of these
And
days, though, one of these teams is maybe we're going to get over
and
the hump.
and even worse is they've been like embarrassingly embarrassing and awful. Like
Like
the
just
Redskins for 20
treason.
years were just a total, dumpster fire.
I mean, yeah, and I love that you're here because I used to watch you post game and pre-game, and this is yeah, you're part of my sadness. So thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Sure.
No, that's awesome. I was curious to know who you like. We're heavily on sports in this one. So as you're growing up, are you're watching all these sports? Like, are you thinking that you want a career on TV or at least in the sports field, or is that something that came a little bit later as you kind of get into college years?
Well, I mean, I think every kid that's a sports fan like wants to do that, but you don't really know how. And I grew up on Long Island, so New York City just seemed, it was like Hollywood to me. Like, it was totally two different worlds. So, anyone on TV just seemed like a big shot celebrity. So I didn't really dream about it as if it was an attainable goal, but I thought it would be cool. And, it took until I was in college and I did college radio. I did a semester of community. Actually, I did 2 semesters of community college, just not next to each other.
Gotcha.
And I did the student radio there, and I was like, oh, well, this is fun. And then when I transferred to Maryland, I went right to the student radio station here and immediately got onto the football and basketball broadcast. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do with my life. So, you know, it's hard. I mean, everyone always, you would say like, oh man, you got the best job in the world. You get to go to sporting events. And I was like, no, I get to work at sporting events. Like
Right.
I'm not tailgating. I'm not, passed out in the third quarter because it was so much fun tailgating.
Yeah.
Like I am working. It's usually a really long day. But, again, these were my offices, football fields and basketball
Yeah.
arenas. So, and meeting, incredible athletes and doing this, like getting to find out their background, learn something
Right.
about them. And I've always said, like, the wins and losses, my happiness depends on my team's winning and losing. But I also love the stories behind the stories and like how guys got there and the obstacles they had to overcome and amazing things that you're doing off the field that no one really knows about. So, just talking, getting to meet people that I, considered my heroes, was really cool. So yeah, I didn't grow up expecting to do it, but I had a hell of a 25-year run doing it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It's cool to hear that because I do it on a smaller level, but being able to work sporting events and you take pictures and friends see it or family members see it and they're like, this is great. And you're like, yeah, but I woke up at like 5 a.m. today to be in, wherever I'm going. And then it's like midnight and I'm getting back and it's like, I watched some of the game. I think I
Right,
was
right.
doing stuff before and after the game.
Yep.
But no, it's cool to hear that perspective of it. And I totally agree. I think there's so many sporting events. There's things happening all the time. There's going to be game winning shots, and there's things that happen on the court or on the field or whatever sport, on the ice, whatever it may be. But like actually getting to talk to people and understand backgrounds and understand because like that's where you find like the cool stuff. Like the special stuff is in the stories and how someone got to where they got, not maybe what happened in front of your eyes. So I totally agree on that. So let's talk about Maryland. I know you just said that you got there and you started doing the radio stuff. How did you wind up, getting to University of Maryland? How did you decide to go to Maryland? How did that come about?
So it's funny, I graduated in 1995. I'd done student radio, and Johnny Holiday was, the
Sure.
longtime voice of the Terps when I graduated in 1995.
Crazy.
And I thought one day maybe I'll get to go back to Maryland and replace Johnny Holiday as the voice of the Terps. So I always kind of kept close with people at Maryland to just keep my name around.
Right.
And here we are, what is it, 25 years later, 30 years later, he's still going.
Still
Like
doing it.
it's
Still doing it.
I've told him, I'm like, Johnny, I thought I was going to replace you. You're still going. So, I mean, he's
Crazy. Right.
88 years old, I think now, and still doing all the football and all the basketball games. It's incredible.
Right.
But, yeah, so, like I said, I've always kind of been around the program, either covering it or just, talking it or whatever. And So my sports broadcasting career, unfortunately, was a COVID victim, just part of
Yep.
massive layoffs over at what was then NBC Sports Washington, now Monumental Sports, was Comcast Sportsnet, blah blah blah. But I got let go, and now I've got a family. I had twin girls. My wife, who I met in the business, had already gotten out of the business. So I was like, I'm not packing up and going to work weekends, in Orlando for the local news on the sports reports. I just said, you know what, there's only a handful of jobs I really want anymore. Um, and so I just made the decision to pivot and got into the business world somehow. A friend got me hooked up with a startup tech company,
Hmm.
and that was a lot of fun. Thought we were going to do some really big things, and CEO turned out not to be as smart as he thinks he is. And then went to minor league baseball team, and then what was always again talking to Maryland, like how can I get back to Maryland? I'd love to do something at Maryland. And then when the uh, what should we call it for the NIL, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, with Maryland, like the one Maryland stuff, right? Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
yeah, yeah. Collective, the collective. This is
Yeah.
blank.
Sure.
So I got working with the collective, and that's just a really challenging job. And a good buddy of mine who I worked with at the TV station, ran our sales department, was running what I'm doing now, which is Maryland Sports Properties, which is the marketing and multimedia rights holders for the Terps athletic department.
Yep.
So signage, radio, um, anything that you see inside a stadium, the games that go on during timeouts on the floor. Um, SERVPRO is is with us, so a partner of ours. So he brought me on, and so now it's just it's funny because like the other night the Maryland opening game for basketball season was in Baltimore.
Yep.
I work in College Park, and depending on what time you are trying to get from College Park to Baltimore, it could be like 40 minutes or close to 2 hours. And I was like, traffic doesn't look too bad. And there was 20 years where I was like, man, I'd love to be able to go to any game. Now my job lets me go to any game. Like I'm going. So like I just, like it's cool that I get to, be at these games that, for so long I was like, man, I wish I was going to more. And like I'm a total Terps freak. So like
Sure.
I've gone to the men's soccer games, the women's soccer games, like baseball games. Like I just love being on campus and being around it all. Um, so yeah, it was just sort of like, in my heart, and I'm psyched that I'm back here now.
Definitely. No, that's awesome. I was excited that you're back. I was like, look at this guy. I know this guy from TV, and now he's in Maryland. Of course, I love the plug for SERVPRO, the official cleaning and restoration sponsor of University of Maryland Athletics.
I
Huge
did
fan.
this for 25 years, man. I know how to weave things in and out.
I'll leave things there. No, that's awesome. So you're loving what you're doing now. It's like been a good transition over to this world and everything.
It's yes, I love what I'm doing because I'm helping Maryland athletics. What I'm learning from sales is that in a movie when you're running down a hall and the hall just keeps getting longer and longer, and you're like, why can't I ever get there? That's what sales is. It is just running down, a lane that just keeps getting longer, and then you finally hit it. And they're like, great, sell more. So TV, it really suited my personality in that you work really hard for that day. You do really fun, challenging stuff in a live environment where you got to be on your game and right, almost like an athlete, right? Like you lead up to the
Yes.
game, you get all the jitters, everything, you do the game, and then the night ends, and you're like, "Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow." Like there's no worrying. There's just tomorrow will be another day that we do that. Whereas now it's you're just kind of it's always that number that you got to hit. You got to get that number. You got to get more sales. So it is definitely challenging and stressful. But again, I don't know that I would love it as much if I was selling widgets. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
door to door. Like I don't know that I'm a natural sales guy. But
Yeah.
when I'm trying to do it for Maryland, it makes it a lot much more bearable.
Yeah, for sure. Well, sales and marketing gets grouped together a lot in the business world, and I have made sure that I was always on the marketing side of things because
Right.
and it's funny because you're obviously very outgoing and we have probably similar personalities in that way. And it's like, I think people naturally feel that people that are super outgoing would be great salespeople. And that's usually where people will find it. It's like, oh, this is their personality. This is what they're going to do. I personally, like, I just have never, I don't like to tell people to do things. Like, I want to be like, the life of the party. I want to engage, like what you just talked about. I view when I'm like on camera and doing things, I view it like I'm getting ready to go compete in a sport.
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready. I know what I have to do. I've done all the prep work, which would be the practice in sports. I feel very confident in that. And then you get that game done and then you're on to the next one.
Right.
And you're right. It's a totally different mentality. It's just next game. Sales is just great. You got $1 million. Great. Go
Right.
get another. Go get two.
2 million. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is interesting how that works.
And I think also, like, for me, and I'll bet this is for you too, like, I like the collaborative, creative part of having a blank screen at the beginning of the day and then just filling it up and putting it in the right way so the show or the podcast or whatever you're doing flows the best way and it's the most creative way. And you talk with, like, for TV, there was a producer, we would go over the rundown, there was an analyst, you talk to him about what do you want to talk about today, what kind of aspects. So there was just this fun collaborative thing that went on all day, where sales is much more, you're hunting all day and it's an individual thing. Yes, I work with people that help for sure, but it's not that sort of blank slate every day where it's like, okay, let's see, we did that yesterday, how do we improve on that and do something more fun today? And I think that's what it comes down to. It was fun. Like, I was talking to, for my last job, I was talking about the Caps every day, of my life. Like, I knew that team inside, outside, upside down, like backwards. Like, I knew that team, just around it every day. And it was just like, okay, what fun can we have talking about Alex Ovechkin? Like, I got to talk about, I used to say all the time, I was like, I consider myself lucky that I am part of the team that tells the story of the greatest goal scorer in the history of hockey. Like, that was a privilege.
That's awesome. Right. Like, how cool is that? Right. In the grand scheme of things, you look back, it's like life is what you make it. And you're going to look back one day and you're going to be able to see that. And like, how cool is that? I mean, the way that I grew up, it's like hearing the lore of Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe and these hockey players. And I was never like a huge, like, I know you're probably obviously much more knowledgeable in hockey than I am. But I'm very aware of the sport, just being a huge sports fan. And it's like, I mean, think of the stories that, like, with Crosby and Ovechkin, I mean, for this era. And it's like, you got to spend all that time. Not only were you there for a ton of his goals and him, getting there and then breaking the record, but like, you're there when the Capitals win their one and only Stanley Cup.
I mean, I have a picture. So they win. Obviously, it's on national television. We go and do our post-game show back on our air. And that post-game show went on for like 2 hours. Like, we just kept talking and talking and talking. And then it was, Alan May, who is the analyst I work with, and I were in Vegas, and we had the rest of the crew back in DC, which was a total madhouse. And so we kind of go back and forth. They do it for a while. And after a while, like, I'm up in the, kind of like here, like the ice is down there. And I'm watching them skate around with the cup, and it's amazing. Alan, who played for the Caps, has got tears in his eyes. We got fans running over to jump in the shot with us, and we're asking them about what this means to them. So there's a lot of, like, in that moment, just kind of go with the flow type of stuff. And then after a while, when basically, Locker and Koken and all those guys back in DC, who were part of the Caps broadcast forever, when they were kind of really, the story was more about what's happening in DC now. And I'm watching them kind of slowly leaving the ice. I said to my producer, a good friend of mine, Ryan Billy, I was like, hey, can I go down there, please? Like, I'm this close to the Stanley Cup. I've got to get down there. He's like, I need you back in a few minutes. I was like, that's fine. I'll make that deal. Like, Alan had left. Alan was gone. It was just me at this point. And I was like, yes, please. So I ran down to the ice and I get out there, and like, I have on my phone a great video of, I took a couple of, selfies with Ovi with the cup, but then, like, he's ready to leave the ice, and I'm just, with my phone right next to him, and he's telling all the guys, he's got the cup in his hands, And he's like, come on. He's getting everyone off the ice. And then he just kind of like skates up to, the entryway to that you go back to the locker room. And he turns around and just lifts the cup and he goes, "Thank you, Vegas." And just walks in. And I was like, oh my God. Like that was, and I was literally, when he lifted the cup, I was right next to him. And I was, I've made that a picture. I've got it hanging in my workspace back at my house, my office. And, so those are like memories. I have a picture. I think I showed you once with, 4 a.m. in Vegas.
Yeah.
I totally took advantage of drunken players. And was like, let me lift the cup. Come on. And, I got to lift the Stanley Cup. And, it's funny, the player who Matt Niskanen. It was Matt Niskanen who played for the Caps. What does it matter now?
Yeah.
And he was, when training camp started, I was like, do you remember that? He's like, nope. Because that's who I asked to lift the cup. He's like, I don't remember, like 3 days after we lift the cup.
Well, they were on a run. I mean, I remember after they won that, they were on like a generational run of partying. And I just remember seeing it on like Twitter and everything and just being like, man, they're DC's, we're taking this one with us.
Yeah.
This is staying
cheated.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. Like that's what an awesome experience to be a part of that and to be around that team for that entire year and obviously the other years that you were there. But yeah.
And like you mentioned also, I got to cover the Redskins when RG3 Mania, his rookie season 2012. And you'll remember the run against Minnesota, like a 76-yard touchdown.
76 yards, I think, down the left sideline. Yeah.
Yep. And I was on the field as he ran by. And I remember watching, he jumped into the crowd and I was like, this is the greatest, like the game just changed because of that dude. And I was right here. Like, I was like, wow, now obviously it all fell apart. But like at that moment, I was like, we are totally seeing the game go from pocket passer to this dude, so again, like those little moments that you just get to be nearby or a part of, then you go ask the questions and get the answers and for good and bad, because it's funny because, the Redskins, again, it all fell apart. History has always said that it's going to end spectacularly awful for them. And I remember, I think it was the next season. It was like when he said he was all in for week 1 and then Cousins was playing and it was miserable. And we had to do the post-game show and I'd have to get players to come on with me. And they're just, it's not only like, are they losing every week, but every week would be like a bombshell, Sunday morning of like what?
Shanahan, RG3's dad, Cousins. I mean,
something every week.
What's happening?
Yeah, like Dan Snyder accused of sexual harassment. I remember once a bus got driven off the road, and we were like, "Oh no, what happened?" Like it was just like unbelievable. I remember talking on the sidelines in San Francisco once, and oh God, who was the defensive coordinator? Jim
Haslett.
And I did a weekly one-on-one with him, so I got to know him. And I was just talking about the defense, and he goes, how am I supposed to coach? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, we signed that guy Tuesday. I can only have him on this side of the field so I could yell to him to tell him what to do. He's like, how am I supposed to win like this? And I was like, I've never heard of such a thing. That's crazy. So you just like, but I remember trying to get interviews as they would walk. So I'd stand right by the locker room door. Yeah. Get out without getting past me. And everyone's like, no. And Logan Paulson, the tight end, who's now on their radio broadcast.
He works for them, yeah.
He had long hair, walks up to me, and he said something like, you look like an insurance guy at a fire trying to get some business. And I was like, it kind of feels like that. And he had his arm around me. And I was like, kind of feels like that, man. This isn't fun. Yeah. So I said, you want to go on with me? He goes, no, hell no. And he turned and walked away. I was like, oh God, just came over to make fun of me. And we could have maybe helped you with that. SERVPRO, we help people right after fire. So we could have maybe helped with the bedside manner there. If I would have known, if we were doing this,
It was
13 years ago, 14,
perfect.
12 years ago, we really could have done something fun.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks so much for watching Breaking Through the Wall, a podcast sponsored by SERVPRO Team Wall. Of course, SERVPRO Team Wall is available to help 24/7 with all of your restoration needs. So whether it be water, fire, mold, cleaning, or full construction services, SERVPRO Team Wall is there to help you. So give us a call if you need us. But for now, let's get back to the podcast. Well, let's talk about. So I love that we're getting into that, and we can. I want to touch back on some of that stuff too, just because I'm a fan of these teams.
Yeah.
But let's talk about. So after what's your first break into the TV or broadcasting world? Like, what's your first? Do you do it immediately after Maryland, or did you work like a business job or something normal?
No, I got right into, I was actually the first full-time sports producer at Fox 45 in Baltimore. So I
Okay.
came here to Maryland, and I think I interned before I got to Maryland. I transferred in at WNBC in New York, which again, that was the station I grew up watching. Len Berman was again like a huge celebrity to me. He called Big East games back in the day, so like, he was the sports guy, and Chuck Scarborough and Sue Simmons was Chuck and Sue. Like these were like heroes of mine, and I got to intern there. And on my last day of the internship, I'll date myself now. It was a press conference for a Riddick Bowe Mike Tyson fight.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and I met a producer from the George Michael Sports Machine
Okay.
and told him I'm going to Maryland, and he offered me an internship. And this is the way it works. Like this is how the world works. He offered me an internship. I got down there, did an internship there, met a guy in that internship who introduced me to Fox 45, went up there and did an internship. So it was like a series of little breaks. And then, like I said, I was doing full-time sports producing, and they gave me like some we did the Gary Williams show for like a year. We did the Gary Williams show.
Yep.
So they let me do like a story on the Gary Williams show that, not on the news that people are watching, but the coaches show where it's a very smaller audience.
Yeah.
They let me do some stuff. So that was cool. And then a guy that I had interned with was working in Salisbury, Maryland, which is, 2+ hours. It's, down the ocean. And,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And he was working in Salisbury, and his sports director left. He got bumped up. He hired me as the weekend guy. Yada yada yada. 25 years later, that's where it all started. Was just small market TV, and it's just. And I taught a class here in broadcast, and any intern over the years, I was like, just make as many contacts as you can, because almost assuredly that's going to lead you to your job. It's sure your resume might get you in some place, but it's usually knowing the right person or the right person to get to the right person. So a series of things like that worked out.
And just sticking through it, right? Getting through some of the local stuff and fighting through some of it. I mean, I can, I can only imagine. So my dad, he wanted to be a sports broadcaster. So he actually worked for Channel 11 in Baltimore.
Okay.
And worked, God, I'm never going to remember this, but he was the assistant to the sportscaster. It was a guy that was there forever. And my dad, I don't know. I'm never going to pull this, but nonetheless, my dad's gonna be disappointed in me on that one. But nonetheless, he did that for 2 years, went to broadcasting school, did the whole thing. Like this is when they had like broadcasting schools like specific for it. And God, he went there. He graduated with Robin, who was like Howard Stern's sidekick forever.
No way.
Yeah. So
Quivers?
Yes, in the class with her.
Great.
In the class with her. Yeah, classic. And did that whole thing, and then wound up working for a radio station in like Prince Frederick, Maryland, and then did something in Louisiana and came back up. Anyways, long story short, meets my mom, decides I'm not making any money.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Gets out of it. And I feel like my journey, like doing TV and doing the stuff I've done, even with music and stuff like that, I've like been trying to fulfill the prophecy of my dad not finishing his career dreams.
And it's funny too, because when my first gig in Salisbury, people would see me like in the mall or whatever and come up and say hello and be like, oh man, what a dream. I'd do anything to do this. I was like, I'm making $17,000 a year. All I eat is all you can eat buffets. So I stay full. And like a week ago, I was standing in my only suit outside at a high school football game in an absolute rainstorm where the mud was like up to my ankles. You
Right.
really want to do that? And I worked
Yeah.
every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
Is
You
that
think
what
you think I love Snow Hill football?
yes, yes. I was at Y High. I was at Y High.
I'm trying to think in my head of my Maryland high school knowledge from Brooklyn. It's like, what's a school on the Eastern Shore over there? That
It's
is
great.
one, I believe. Yeah.
Spent a lot of time there. Spent a lot
Yeah.
of time at Snow Hill. Yes.
Ah, that's great. So, and then you did spend some time though in Alabama a little bit. What
Sure
were you
did.
doing there?
Sure did. So I got that was actually I had an agent who was my best friend, was my agent at the time. He had sent out tapes, which back then
Yeah.
actual VHS tapes. I'd go to there was a drive-through mail drop off, and I'd go and drop off 8 or 10 tapes every like 2 weeks or whatever. And the guy would be like, "Oh, you're back again, huh? Still trying to get out of here." And I was like, "You know what, dude? I don't need like, yes, I'm still here. Yes." But then I got a job offer in Birmingham, and I was like, honestly, I don't even know where Birmingham is. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And at the time, I think I was making in the mid-20s at that point. I was been bumped up to sports director, and they offered me 40, which I was like, whoa, like
I mean,
huge jump.
do I get a private jet?
Right.
Yeah.
And then she called me back like a few days later and said, sorry, I overstepped. I'm new. We only have 35 for you. I was like, but you offered me 40. Like, what if I had said yes? She's like, you didn't. And I was like, but you said 40. Like, I had my heart set on 40.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this. And she goes, let me ask you this. How long have you been in Salisbury? I was like, 4 years. She's like, how many job offers have you had? I was like, this is the first one. She goes, well, you could wait for the second one, or you could take mine for 35. And I was like, well played.
That was sales right there. I think
Yes, that's right. My first lesson.
Sales.
And, so I went to Birmingham, again, Jewish kid from Long Island, in the heart of Dixie. It was a culture shock for me. Like, I always tell the story, like one of the first times I was downtown, walked out of my apartment building, and someone walked by. I was like, hey, how y'all doing? And I was seriously like, did I just get robbed? What the hell just happened? Like, I was like, oh, they're just nice. They're just saying hello to strangers here. So here I am in Birmingham, and I got to cover the SEC. Like, I got to Alabama, Auburn. I covered Auburn in the Sugar Bowl when they played Virginia Tech, and Auburn finished undefeated and didn't play for the national championship because it was Oklahoma and I can't remember now. It was Oklahoma and someone, but Oklahoma had a loss. There was a whole big thing, and Auburn got screwed. And that team, Jason Campbell, quarterback with the Redskins, Carlos Rogers,
cornerback. Oh yeah,
cornerback. Yep. I mean, Carnell Williams, Ronnie Brown. That team was loaded with NFL players. And it went undefeated. Can you imagine now, like an SEC team going undefeated?
How ridiculous! Of course, now I guess we have the beautiful college football playoff. But yes,
imagine not getting invited. Like, they weren't even invited to play for the national championship. So, so I got to do stuff like that. The crazy thing is, again, oh man, you have the best job in the world. We'd have to cover high school football, which is huge now. You're talking
huge. Huge in Alabama. Yes.
Huge.
For people that don't know that. Yes.
10, 15,000 people in the stands for a high school football game. And all the photographers would have to work, and you'd go out and shoot highlights of 2 or 3 games each. Then we'd run back and cut up all the highlights and write out the scripts of what happened. And then hopefully they called in with a final score. We'd have to be calling like local fire departments, like, hey, were you at the game? Did you get a final score?
Yeah.
And we do that, it was Central Time, so from 10:30 to 11. And then a lot of times either early the next morning or that night, get on the road to like Oxford for Auburn Ole Miss game at 11 a.m. Central Time, noon game, 11 a.m. Central. You're just exhausted, like what you're saying before, you're just so tired. And, but, I watched Eli Manning when he was at Ole Miss, that was pretty cool. It spent 4 years there in Birmingham, and it was it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot down there because it was like the first sort of big time stuff I was covering. Like there were eyes on me. It was important to people. And I always tell people up in the Northeast, like, I can't get you to understand how big college football is in the South until you've lived it. Like,
Yep.
I mean, people that have had campers and driving all over the Southeast to every Alabama game for 30 years, asking in the grocery store, like, who do you think's going to, come on as a recruit to take over for Evan Britt at right guard next year? I'm like, a lady, I don't know. I have no idea. Like
Yeah.
it's just crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, no, it is wild. I mean, I've been to a few SEC football games, including like Tuscaloosa and Baton Rouge and things like that, and it's like just next level. Like I remember my first SEC football game was the Iron Bowl. Auburn was
Oh,
playing Alabama, and it was like I went down there. God, it's probably been it's like AJ McCarron, I think, was the quarterback
yeah.
then. Wanted to play for the Bengals and whatnot, but just crazy. I mean, I just remember seeing the tailgate and just walking it and just being where am I? I've just never because growing up, growing up in Maryland, I'm such a professional sports fan. I didn't like it's like I liked Maryland sport. Like I did grow up, cheering. Like I was a big Maryland basketball fan. So like when the team, in 2001, Juan Dixon, Steve Blake, Lonnie Baxter, like that whole squad, it's like I love that. I think I've told you off camera, I like grew up a huge Syracuse fan just because it was one of the first teams that I saw. Like my dad took me to a game at Georgetown, and it was like I'm like 7 years old, and it's like Eton Thomas, Ryan Blackwell, Jake Hart, and I mean I'm so young at that point. I mean this is '90s, and it's like, but that's who I watched, and then it's like Carmelo winds up going there, who's a Maryland kid who I watched at Towson Catholic, and it's like I just was a huge Syracuse fan, but at college football I just never had a team. I just didn't. It's
You
like
don't know from it. Like
there
there's
wasn't
Maryland, and
a
that's
huge.
it.
I was a huge Redskins fan growing up. That's who I like in the fall. I watched the NFL. Huge fantasy football fan, and it's like
Right.
college football just wasn't. I mean, I was very aware of it, and then you go down to like an SEC school, and you're just like, what in the hell did I just walk into? I mean, it's another world, and it's like these people from Sunday morning until the next Saturday morning, the only thing they're thinking about and what they're working for and living for is literally to get to the next game day.
100%.
Crazy.
100%.
I mean, I love it. I do love it.
I totally got like I am a huge college football and college sports nut because of my 4 years
Yep.
in Birmingham. Like it was just like you said, it was just it was all year too. Like it was recruiting season, it was spring ball, like it was all year round. And yeah, it's really different down there. And if you go to an LSU tailgate for a night game in Baton Rouge, you're going to eat the best food you've ever eaten
Yes.
in like a field outside a stadium. They're going to have like some gumbo that
100%.
absolutely blow you away. And, so yeah, you just go through all those. And every school, like Arkansas, we'd be driving around and doing the Sioux,
Oh, yeah.
Sioux. And like, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, what? That's amazing. Like all these, the pomp and circumstance is what I love so much about college football. And in the South, it's just everything, man. So it was, that was super fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I love that we're talking about like you're talking to fans, they're doing this. Like in your all of your time, and you worked obviously in many different places, whether it was high school sports, college sports, professional sports. Like when you were doing stuff with crowds or fan bases, obviously these people are extremely passionate about who they like. And that goes from like, I mean, hell, like I remember watching you on pregame with Redskins games or postgame, and you're watching and you're like, how did we just absolutely blow this game with the Giants? Like, whatever just happened, and you're just so heated. And then like, it's you and Brian Mitchell or whoever, and it's a panel of people, and you're like, you're just heated, you're hot, it's this and that. And it's like, how did you I'm sure you've had fans say crazy things to you, like at certain times. How did you like connect with the fan base, like understanding the fandom, and like how did you maneuver through that, like throughout your career?
It's funny because, especially with the Caps, right? So I was part of the Caps broadcast for 10 years, basically my whole run in DC. Early years was kind of like I would host a show here, I'd cover a game there, but I was part of Caps coverage all the way through. And then like 2016-ish or so, they wanted like a Caps crew, a Wizards crew, a Redskins crew. So that's why I became the full-time host of the Caps pre and post game shows. And again, I didn't grow up in DC. The Islanders are my favorite
Yeah.
team, who Caps fans despise to this day because of Pat LaFontaine and like the
Sure.
fourth overtime in the 80s, and it's funny because Alan May, I mean, what a dude. My first game playing the Caps, playing the Islanders, and I just wore like a blue with a slight hint of orange tie, just as like a little homage to my
Sure.
Islanders. And we start the show, and I'm like, "Hey, welcome in the Caps pregame live. Rob Carlin alongside Alan May," and he goes, "What color tie is that?" And I was like, "Oh God!"
Oh,
Like just called me out. Like,
yeah.
look, everyone grew up somewhere, but when you would really, so I always used to say I became part of the Caps fans' nightly viewing habits, right? Like I grew up watching my teams. The pre and post game shows were
Yeah.
just as important. So I knew that there's like a real kind of responsibility to feel what the fans are feeling. And when you're covering it every day and you're getting to know the guys, like it's impossible not to root for TJ Oshie. Like just
Sure.
right,
Of course.
it's impossible not to root for Nicholas Backstrom. And so you really get into it and you talk to the fans, and I can't tell you how many times they would say something like, "We've been through this for so long. We've been through so much misery, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." And I was like, I wasn't, like I
You
wasn't.
were part of it. Yeah.
I didn't grow up with Peter Bondra, and like Dale Hunter to me was the guy who cross-checked Pierre Turgeon in a playoff game and like ruined the Islanders' run. Like, yeah, and then he became head coach while I was covering the team. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I hate this guy."
It's not my guy.
But you really just have to become what the fans want you to become. And again, you're not faking it. You're truly in it. Like when they got eliminated by the Penguins, you're like, oh, like it gut wrenching. You want to see Ovi get a shot at the Stanley Cup. You want to see all these guys that you're watching and talking to and getting to know. So it was really important. And Stanley Cup year, right around there, we started doing shows in the arena, and I would walk around like the arena, like between periods, and just talk to fans, like anyone that would come up, and I would talk, and they'd tell stories, and I'd tell something that's going on with the team, and you really just become part of the Caps community, and that was the most that I was tied to. I covered the Redskins, and that was fun, but this was again part of the experience of every game. And then it was like, that was also kind of like when Twitter was really exploding. So I'd always have like my iPad up and I'd read people's tweets. And then I'd get like, "Oh man, thanks for reading my tweet." And I'd respond, like live on the show and ask Alan a question. So it was really just trying to include the fans as much as possible in the whole experience. And then when you're live and a fan, I remember one time that we were live. They had us set up outside, like in the concourse, standing at a little table, and that's where we did the show. And the crowd was all around us,
Right.
and one guy just walked up and just was like, "Alan, Alan," and we both turned around. And he just reached his hand and he was, "Nice to meet you." And I was like, "Yeah, we're just doing a show here, guy." Like, whatever. I don't know what that was. Like just like weird stuff like that would happen. People would yell something from above, and you'd look up, and so it was really just trying to be what the fans are, because we were really the voice of the fan. So and again, like, so my style, as you might be able to tell, like I'm a kind of loose, free flowing type of guy. So I didn't prepare very much, other than this is what we have to get to. Yeah. This is what we have to get to, and but post game, you're just flying by the seat of your pants. So I can't tell you how many times, like if the Caps lost a heartbreaker, I'd come on the show, and because I really felt this way. I was like, "Oh," and like literally that's how I'd start the show. Like, "Oh, how do you blow a 2-goal lead? Oh man, that was tough. Hey, welcome into Caps post game." So like the fans felt that I was really in it with them, and I was. So that was it was super fun to be part of that.
Right. Yeah. Like having that same feel as a fan is important. And people that like, I mean, God, I remember middle school, high school, like I watched every pregame, postgame show for the Redskins before the game. Like if the game was at 1 o'clock, I'm on there at 11 a.m. and then I'm going after the postgame because I wanted to see what Santana Moss had to say or what Chris
Right.
Cooley had to say. Like, like what happened, what was good, what was bad. And it's like, cause you're just locked in. Like that's it. So it's cool to hear like your perspective of that in being understanding of like what, fandom is and kind of hitting the mark on that for sure.
Yeah, because those are the viewers, right? Those are the people you're trying to bring in and keep. And early on in my career, when I was in Salisbury, an older woman, probably my age now, but at that point, I was an older woman that worked at the TV station, came up to me one day and said, "I don't really like sports, and I don't know what you're talking about, but I like watching you because you seem like you're having so much fun." And I was like,
Yep.
"Well, that's the greatest compliment. The sports fans are always going to watch. The Caps fans are always going to watch.
Yeah.
If I can get one person who's like, I like watching that. Like I'll tune in just because it seems like," and that's so many people, especially after I was let go, were like, "Man, I used to love you and Alan together because he'd say something and you'd challenge him and you wouldn't let him get away with stuff." And so that was really nice to be able to have that and represent what because a lot of times when you're right, so you'd be sitting at home watching B Mitch yelling about something and you're like, "No, I don't agree with that, B Mitch. You're wrong because you're missing this." So like I felt like I was on the set. I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what like so in fact, B Mitch and I hosted a show, Sports Talk Live.
No, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very,
So,
very familiar. Yeah.
yeah. So B Mitch, I said something about someone playing in a contract year and how, he's playing great this year, but it's a contract year. So,
Sure.
and B Mitch goes, "First off, there's no such thing as a contract year." I was like, "B Mitch, everyone knows there's a contract.
Everyone knows the contract here.
Yeah, you're playing for like $100 million. Like this is big." And he was like, "No, you don't know." And we're arguing back and forth, and we're standing in the studio at a monitor, and then he dropped the, "Well, you don't know because you never played."
Never did it.
Right. So I hate, because that's the end of the argument, right? Like that. So
Yeah.
now it's not even about TV. Now it's, well, okay, if that's what you can say, then I'll never be right at anything. And so I was like, "All right, you're right. I didn't play." And I walked off the set and I was like, "All right, well, you do TV then. I didn't play football, so I'll let you do TV." And the director was really smart. So I walked to like where our desk was, and I walked over to the desk and sat down, and the director took a long shot. So you see B Mitch where I was standing, and now I'm sitting on the desk all the way over there. My feet are kicked up, and I'm like, go ahead, Mr. TV guy. You know everything. Take us to break." And it was a pretty funny moment. It was a pretty wild to the point where everyone in the studio was like dead silent when we went to commercial because B Mitch stumbled his way through it. And then the next day, like my boss was like, "You and B Mitch okay?" I was like, "Yeah." We just yelled at each other. Like, we're grown. We're fine. But again, like I wasn't afraid to kind of go back and forth with them because I just knew it was good TV. So
tried to hit you with a Ryan Clark.
right.
Before
The worst. The worst. When he started,
were you working?
Oh yeah,
you and
the Redskins.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He would do that all the time, and
Sure.
I was, because he was like everyone at that point. It was the end of his career, and everyone's like, "Oh, this dude's going to be on TV. What a great personality!" And he dropped the, "Oh, have you ever been in a situation 3rd and long with a game on the line?" You're like, "No, but that's not my job. Like that, I'm here to ask you why you guys gave up 15 yards on a 3rd and 12 for the 3rd time in this game. That's what I'm asking you." And is it something formationally? Is it the call? Like what was it that how? And he used to do that all the time. So when he got heat, a couple of weeks ago or whatever it was, a month ago, oh man, that was great. I was like, "Yeah, we knew that."
Yeah.
And I put something on Twitter about it, like he's the worst. And one of the guys who was a sports writer back then sent me a picture, like responded with a picture. He's like, "This is the moment you're talking about." He actually had a picture from when like we were all, and I like Ryan Clark would do. I would just walk away. I was like, you know what, I'm done. I don't need to listen to him anymore.
Yeah.
And
I love that this Serve Pro Breaking Through the Wall podcast has been the platform for you to tell your true feelings on ex NFL player and current ESPN analyst Ryan Clark. I love
yeah,
that.
if
Is
this thing doesn't go viral, man, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's super funny. No, that's cool. I love getting to hear like the stories. Thanks so much for watching Breaking Through the Wall, a podcast sponsored by SERVPRO Team Wall. Of course, SERVPRO Team Wall is available to help 24/7 with all of your restoration needs. So whether it be water, fire, mold, cleaning, or full construction services, SERVPRO Team Wall is there to help you. So give us a call if you need us. But for now, let's get back to the podcast. I know we talked about you hoisting the Stanley Cup, which is an incredible story. Is there anything else like story-wise that sticks out throughout your career that just was like something that happened, whether positive or negative, or just something that's cool to share?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a lot of positives that happen. Just again, different moments that you were a part of. I got to cover the Super Bowl with the Ravens and the Niners when the lights went out in the Superdome, and and at that time, if you remember, like everyone's like, "Are we under attack?" Like that was not like, "Whoa, this is funny." Like we weren't that far removed from 9/11. And so it was like a weird feeling inside the stadium. And then I have a cool, like one of my favorite like mementos that I got. So after all the coverage, we're getting ready to leave, and I see a guy putting like a bunch of long, glossy things into a garbage can. And I was like, what is that? He was a photographer for the San Francisco Chronicle, and they had made up the front page, which was Vernon Davis, or the back page, whatever, Vernon Davis jumping into Colin Kaepernick's arm that said like, I can't remember, like Niners of the champ, whatever it was, it would have been, because they would have had to have that ready.
Yep.
So I was like, dude, can I have that? That's amazing. Like that's, and he's like, I can't. I was like, come on, man. Like, I just wanted to hang on my wall. Like, that's such an amazing thing to have. And finally, like we negotiated back and forth, and finally he's like, okay, but I don't want to see this like anywhere. I don't want to see this on, social media and people talking about. So the next morning I get on the bus that's going to take us back to the airport. And I showed one of the guys from Baltimore. I was like, oh man, check this out.
Yeah.
And I hear, hey, and I turn around, dude's on the same bus with me. And he's like, I told you not to tell anyone. I was like, oh my God, what are the odds? Like,
what are the chances?
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I have that like framed in my office. Like that's a cool one. So there's, really cool stuff like this, but the bad ones are the funny ones. We had, so I did the Islanders pre and post game shows for 2 years. And the coach was a guy named Scott Gordon, and he was a hot-headed hockey coach. And I wasn't there for his first year, but apparently he had some run-ins with the guy who did my job. And so I started, and he already had like his guard up against whoever was in that role. Game one, I do an exclusive one-on-one interview with him post-game. And game one, they blew a third period lead and lost the game in overtime. And he walks out, and my cameraman's not there. And I was like, guys, where's the photographer? Like, coach is right here. And he just never showed. He got like hung up in an elevator or something.
Oh,
and I could just see this coach like breathing fire out of his eyes. I'm like, I'm sorry, coach. We don't even know each other. Like, we haven't met yet. And so right there, I knew it was bad. And then again, my personality, I would, throughout the season, and they were really bad. It was John Tavares' rookie season.
Okay.
They were really bad and whatever. So we went through every post-game interview was just awkward and uncomfortable, to the point where like the fan websites were like, oh man, I can't wait for the post-game show. Scott Gordon and Rob Carlin to get into it. And one night we were on the West Coast. We played Anaheim, and they gave up like 2 goals in the last 5 minutes of the third, and then like the game-winning goal like in the first minute of overtime. And so, again, I'm wearing an IFB, so my producer can talk to me, and he's like, he said, let's not lead with this. Like, we can't, hit him with this right off the top. So let's go positive first. So I'm like, all right, how about this guy played well and this guy played well and great goaltending, blah, blah, blah. But in my head, I'm like, I have to ask, like, I can't not ask the question. So, and he had told me, like, I don't want to hear opinions. I want facts. That's like the thing that we had kind of settled on. Don't give me opinions. You don't know. Give me facts and I'll respond to it. So I said, you guys are now minus 38 in the third period. Obviously gave up 2 goals tonight and then the game winner in overtime. What do you do as a staff to fix this? Which I thought was a fair way to.
All facts, by the way. All facts.
And I thought it was a fair question. Like, this is your explain, like, as I was asking it, I saw the look in his eyes. And I was like, he's going to punch me. He's going to punch me. Like, I literally was like, he is stopping himself from punching me right now. And he just looked at me, didn't say a word, and walked off the set. And I was like, and I looked up, and Howie Rose, the great Howie Rose, was the Islanders play-by-play guy, did that in the Mets forever.
Sure.
And I said, Howie, tough question. They're going to have to find out an answer. Whatever, they went on with the show. And I looked at the PR guys and, what was that? That's total BS, blah, blah, blah. I'm yelling about it. And so they made the next game's coming up. And the PR guy was like, I think you just asked too many questions. And then hit him with this big one at the end. Like, just ask your question. Like, maybe it's just like 2 questions. And I was like, oh, I can do this in 1 question. And he shows up. They lost again.
Yeah.
He shows up and they toss down to me. I said, thanks, Howie. Coach, your thoughts? He said whatever he said. I said, thanks, Coach. And I turned and I said, Howie, back up to you. And Howie's like kind of like an old vaudeville type of broadcasting style. And he's like, the old one and done tonight, Rob, huh? Probably for the best. And I was just like, yep, I'm done. Like, I'm not asking this dude any more questions. But I was bitching on the bus ride back to the airport to Howie about, like, this is, like, I have to be able to ask that question. He's like, well, we're not the typical media. We're the team broadcast. And I was like, right, but how are fans going to, I don't want to be the homer that's not asking the questions. And he goes, let me ask you this. Do you like the job? I was like, yeah. He's like, do you want to keep the job? Yeah. He's like, then don't ask the question. I was like, well, when you put it that way, like, so those are one of those situations where you learn, okay, this is it's a little bit, there's a bigger relationship here than I'm the journalist who wants to get the answers. So we had to kind of like dance around that. But so like moments like that were super fun. It's super fun now to tell the story, but I mean, there's all kinds of crazy. I once, when I was in Birmingham, Alabama was not very good. Mike Shula was the coach. Yep. One of their players got hurt, and it was like a string of injuries every week. Like 2 guys went down, and like their best running back, it was LaRon McClain, who played in the league.
Played for the Ravens, I believe.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think he had a long run against the Cowboys once. Yeah. So he got hurt, and they had this amazing shot in the broadcast of Mike Shula going like, who, and then clearly they said McClain, and he goes, oh, and he just put his head back. And so me doing the highlights on the 10 o'clock sportscast, I said, oh man, sometimes you just have to laugh to keep from crying, because he was literally like, I can't believe it. So I just said that. Well, I get back and my email is lit up with, why are you laughing at a college kid's injury? I was like, oh no, I'm sorry if that misconstrued. Like, I meant the shot of the coach. It looked like he was laughing, because what else can you do with this one? There's so many injuries. How do they even field a team? And sent the email back. And the guy returned the email with like portion of what I said and said, this is what you said. You're going to laugh at how many injuries there are. And I wrote back again. I was like, no, I'm sorry that maybe I'm not making myself clear, blah, blah, blah. And he wrote back and said, clearly you don't like Alabama. You're a Barner, is what they called Auburn fans. You're a Barner. And I was like, okay. And I keep in mind, it was like midnight. It was a long Saturday. Like, we get in before 11 a.m. kickoff to roll on games, to have highlights. I've been in since like 10 o'clock in the morning. It's like midnight. And I was like, all right. And I just start typing away like a really angry email that kind of took shots at Alabama fans and sent that. And I knew right away that I screwed up. They took that portion of the email where I kind of called out Alabama fans for,
Of course.
throwing bottles and being drunk at games, throwing bottles onto the field and cursing at other players. And he took that part and put it on like the biggest fan website that they have. Holy moly. Like, does anyone know his address? Is he married? Does he have kids in schools? Like, I was like, oh my God. It was called
Yeah.
Tiger Insider. And it was just lit up. And I was like, oh, like I'm like physically in danger here. And
Yeah.
people emailed my GM who suspended me without pay for like, I don't know, a couple of days. And, I went to him and I was like, how many emails did you get? And he said like, 10. And I was like, so you're going to take me off the air because 10 people complained of all the people watching? Like 10 people complained? Like here's the email exchange. Like you could see I was goaded into this and I made a terrible decision, but like, why
Sure.
don't you have my back? And he's like, well, the viewers, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, I got you. So, it was just, again, like one of those moments you're like, man,
Right.
how did I see this playing out this way?
That's wild. What a journey. Look at this
Yeah.
journey we've taken today, learning about the career of Rob Carlin.
Yeah.
I love that. Well,
Highs,
see,
highs and lows, man.
highs and lows. If there's one thing that you can pinpoint as far as like a trait that you carry or something that you have, like, is there one thing that you could pinpoint on why you were successful in your career?
I think I was myself. I think that, when you first get into TV, you're trying so hard to be the sports guy. Welcome in to the 6 p.m. news. And you're doing that and you're trying to memorize, you write out your whole script and you're trying to memorize it. And you'd get tripped up on words or you forget something and now you're, in trouble, or the teleprompter goes down and now you're in trouble. And as my career went on and I was more and more confident in myself, I stopped writing so much and I just kind of put in like a bullet point of what I wanted to get to. So my personality would come out. And again, it's like that woman said, like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you seem to have so much fun doing it that I would tell, interns that came up along the way or people who were as I got to bigger markets that were in smaller markets, I was like, be yourself. Don't use words that you wouldn't. I said, how would you tell the story if you went into the bar to tell your friends what happened in the game? You wouldn't say folks were stunned at the outcome. You wouldn't say that. Like that's not normal.
Right.
So go in and say, be yourself. Like obviously don't drop an F-bomb, but be yourself and explain the game. And if it was painful, let everyone know it was painful. If it was incredible, then let them know, like your facial expressions, your hands, like all of that is clearly, as you've seen it, like I'm very handsy, like,
Yes. Yeah.
but it makes it a little more conversational, a little more fun. And, this is a very easy format to kind of just be yourself because it's long form. But when you're in those short 3-minute windows, how do you show your personality while still? And I would say, like, even when I was on the news, I would write the script the way I would say it. So I would literally, how would I say this? I wouldn't say that. And then I'd go on. And then later I was like, oh, this is so much funnier. And I'd go back and like change it. But like, I was always trying to be myself. So if you can, but it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to be yourself and not rely on the words that are written. And, that's what I would tell everyone is just be authentic, be authentically you. And you probably have your best chance because you're different than 700 other people. But what's, that sent in reels for the job you're going after. So what's going to make you stand out from all of them? If you're all doing, tough game for Alabama today is they lose to Arkansas 24-21. Let's go to the highlights. Yeah, I know. We watched the game. I know. So how do you tell that story that's a little different from 700 people who are just going to take the easy way out? So that would be my advice is Be yourself.
No, I love that. I think that's great. Well, I'm not going to let you get out of here without asking you some of your favorites real quick. All right.
Oh boy.
We do this with every guest, so I don't want you to think too hard. This is the maybe the easiest thing we've done today. Are you ready?
I rarely think too hard, so yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. You're going to be great. Favorite University of Maryland basketball player of all time?
Joe Smith.
Oh, that's a good one.
And by the way, I've met him now. The other day at the football game, he was here, and
Okay.
we have a new Terps Reserve bourbon that's available now. If you're a Maryland fan, you can go
I can see
order.
that online. I
Yeah.
like that.
And I sent him one, and he and I were talking about, like, he was like, man, I was drinking it on my couch. I was like, oh, yeah. He goes, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So he and I are joking, and I was like, man, this is awesome.
How
Like,
cool is this?
yeah, yeah. Most people say Juan Dixon because of the title, and Juan's two. I
Sure.
wasn't here for the bias years, but yeah, Joe Smith, easy, because that's when
Yeah.
I transferred in. So that was my guy, you know.
Joe Smith's one of the first players that I really remember as like a really young kid. I mean, I was probably, what is that, 90? What does he come into Maryland? 95?
94.
94. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm 5, 6 years old, but I remember Joe Smith. I mean, I remember Joe Smith getting drafted #1
Oh,
overall. I mean, I remember him in the NBA. I
best
mean,
player in
Joe,
college basketball, like it was
yeah, it's
crazy.
ridiculous. But no, how cool. No, I love that. That's a great answer. Cause yes, I always hear Juan Dixon. It's classic.
Yeah.
Favorite pro athlete of all time.
Magic Johnson.
Okay. I like that.
Loved everything about him.
What's not to like? Hey, back with the Commanders too.
Right, exactly.
Full circle.
Yes.
Favorite. We'll switch gears from sports. Favorite Maryland restaurant for some local flair.
Ooh. Maryland, like the state, or like
The whole state of Maryland. Doesn't need to be like College Park or anything like that. Like just in
ooh,
Maryland.
I would say Cantlers, Riverside in Anne Arundel County. It's right on the water.
Okay.
The best crabs. Oh my God. We went during the summer. A friend took us on his boat. You literally pull your boat up, step out, go upstairs. So this is totally like flip-flops and t-shirt type of
Sure.
place. And they were like, all we have left, it was late in the night, and they're like, all we have left are jumbos. And we're like, how expensive are those? They were expensive. And I was like, let's do the jumbos.
Bring them out.
Oh my God, they were so good. Like, oh my God, I love, because I could just sit and eat, crabs all
Yeah.
day. So
Sure. I'll have to check that out.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's
have to
really
check it out. I haven't been there.
yeah.
It's my parents' home county, so I'll have to.
What's your favorite restaurant in Maryland?
Goodness, that's a good one. I'm gonna go local here from where I grew up because it's just like it brings a lot of memories as far as just like great atmosphere. Sports are on TV. A place called Greenmount Station. It's in Hampstead, Maryland. It's where I grew up. I don't know if you've ventured up north to Carroll County ever in your life. But
Once.
it's like just a great place. Like, great people, great service, great food. I've never been there and been like, bad order. You know what I mean? But just
Right.
Good American bar food and just
And
good.
it-
Yeah.
And it matters where you are, right? Like when I first lived here, I was in Baltimore, and oh man, I just love Nacho Mamas in Canton.
Yeah, in Canton. Yeah, sure.
Oh, I love that place. Like you said, great vibe, good food. Like
Not there anymore, I think, right?
it might not be. That's
I
why
don't think it is. I said it to someone recently and they looked at me like I was crazy and it made me feel so old. Because they were like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
It was like-
a lot of my old favorite restaurants are gone.
Yeah.
now.
I don't think it's there. We'll keep it moving. Favorite TV show all time. Binge-worthy TV show could be.
It's hard to answer because like Seinfeld was my favorite comedy of all time, but West Wing is sort of like that. That's a kind of surprise where people don't say that, and then like The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and all those shows.
Yeah.
But comedy, it's Seinfeld, and West Wing was right there.
My brother loves The West Wing. Loves The West Wing. I'd say, but I've never watched it, so maybe I'll have to jump in.
The writing was so good.
Yeah, I like it. Last one. I'm a big music guy. Favorite musician. It can be a band, solo artist, whoever. Grateful Dead.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's so. In 1987, I was at a sleepaway camp, and a counselor we were campers, introduced us to the Grateful Dead, and then like in '88, and so I was 16. A friend and I got, I think his brother, my sister, I think maybe, took us to the old Brendan Byrne Arena in New Jersey, and I saw my first Grateful Dead show in 1988, and I was just
Wow.
like, the train left the station, man, and I was on it.
You're
And
locked in.
I've probably seen them 50, 60 times
Wow.
with Jerry, and then I've seen, all the iterations of Dead and Company, and
Sure.
yeah, like, oh my God, I explained to my wife, who I met well after, Jerry had passed away, and she knows, she's always like, again with Grateful Dead Radio. I was like, yeah, you knew me when you met me, like, this is who I am. But I would tell her, like, my favorite place was at a Dead show, and wherever I was standing, I would just take a minute and just kind of like look around and be like, that dude is having the same experience I am, and that woman right there, she's having, like, and I was always just like, everyone here is here for the music, to have fun, to let yourself go. And I was just like, dude, this is the best, like, just my happy place. And then I took her to a Dead and Company show years later, and she was like, oh, I see it now. Like, she saw like how
Sure.
I reacted to it, and it's, oh yeah. So double meaning. That was my first tattoo, is Nola. I have
Okay.
Jordan twin girls. I have Jordans. So that was their signature when they were 8 or whatever. And then we called her Nola Bear. That's her nickname. So it
Okay,
kind of had
cool.
a double
So the
meaning.
bear right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Grateful Dead far and away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I love it, Rob. You've given us a lot of time today. We appreciate it.
That was fun.
Excited for SERVPRO Maryland to continue our journey here. Excited to see it, some upcoming games. Hopefully, basketball brings us some good vibes this year. I feel good about Buzz and the team. We need to get some injuries, out
Yep.
of the way here. Get the boys back. But hey, man, we appreciate it. You appreciate you coming on Breaking Through the Wall. It's been a blast, and we will talk to you soon. Everyone else, we'll catch you guys next time.